After the tragic loss of my sister during childbirth, my fiancé also chose to end his life. As I sifted through his possessions, it became clear just how deeply he cherished her memory. Our decade together, transitioning from living in a basement to residing in a luxurious villa, paled in comparison to the first smile he witnessed for my sister when she was 15. Consequently, finding myself transported back to my school years, I made the conscious decision to distance myself from him. This time around, I released him. "Sir, something dreadful has occurred, he committed suicide." Those words struck me with immense force. The white rose I held slipped from my grasp, landing on the floor. "Mia, that's not amusing," trembling, I warned the maid. But Mia was genuinely in tears. "Sir slit his wrists in the bathroom." Ivy was sobbing. Truly, he slit his wrists in the bathroom. What a buzzing sound overwhelmed my mind. My legs gave out and I fell to the ground, instinctively shielding my abdomen before losing consciousness. A single thought dominated my mind: suicide. Lucas, why would he do that? I regained consciousness at dusk, the overpowering scent of antiseptic filling my senses. Outside the hospital room, chaos reigned as reporters crowded the doorway. Why did Mr. Lucas take his own life? Was it due to depression or something else? Rumors suggested that Mr. Lucas and I shared a profound and harmonious love, yet we had no plans for children. Is his affection genuine? What led to his suicide? Their questions intensified, accompanied by the glaring flashes of cameras against the glass. Pressing my head against the wall to quell the pounding, I felt the inquiries become more invasive, pushing me to give a statement. However, I understood that speaking out would only exacerbate the situation. As the vice president of Star Group, maintaining composure was essential. Time seemed to blur. Abruptly, the reporters quieted down, replaced by a stern female voice instructing me to leave. My heart raced. Lucas's mother, who had never taken a liking to me, deeming me dull compared to my vivacious sister, entered the room, clad in a black coat. Her eyes were swollen and bloodshot, her demeanor urgent. She threw her purse aside and demanded, how could Lucas suddenly kill himself? Clutching the blanket, I shook my head. "I don't know, I'm just as surprised as you are." "Mom," she slapped me sharply. "You have no right to call me that." Holding my burning cheek, I lowered my head. Lucas's mother gasped, gazing skyward with tears streaming down her face. "How could it be? How could he just die like that?" she murmured as thunder boomed outside, followed by heavy rain. By the time I collected my thoughts, she had left, leaving the room empty except for me and a damp corner of the quilt soaked with tears. Lucas's funeral was scheduled for 2 days later, coinciding with my sister's. I attended 3 consecutive press conferences, fielding tough questions. Just a day before the funeral, I had the opportunity to see Lucas one last time. He lay quietly at the center, surrounded by flowers. I approached, placed the white rose in his hands, and sat there, gazing at him for what felt like an eternity. Observing the roses beside him, I was overwhelmed with exhaustion. Everyone kept questioning why Lucas had taken his own life. The truth was, I didn't have the answers either. From childhood, he had been exceptionally brilliant and talented. Despite our impoverished upbringing, he never faltered. From the age of 15, I watched his growth from the dark, damp basement to a splendid high-end villa. I witnessed every transformation as he evolved from a naive young boy into a confident corporate president. But why? Why choose to end his life and leave me alone in the midst of everything? I couldn't comprehend it. Gradually, I stood up, gently touching my flat stomach. Whispering, "I haven't even told you I'm pregnant." After the funeral, I returned home and entered the bedroom. The staff had begun sorting through his belongings, from summer shirts and tees to winter coats and wines. Everything slowly disappearing from the room. Following customs, these items needed to be burned, leaving nothing behind. I sat on the bed, watching them organize his things, feeling lost and empty until a maid interrupted. "Madam, should we clean the study too?" Snapping out of my daze, I paused for a moment before responding. "I'll handle it." Lucas had always kept the study a restricted area, off limits to everyone, including me. Having been by his side for 10 years, I never truly understood what was inside him. If something personal was kept in the study, I wanted to exercise my last right as his wife to open it and uncover that enigmatic part of him. The study required a password to enter. I tried various codes: our first meeting date, our wedding date, my birthday, his birthday. None worked. One final attempt remained. If it failed, the lock would seal itself. My palms sweated as I stood before the door. If none of these worked, then what? My hands trembled with uncertainty. An old memory suddenly surfaced. My 15th birthday, few were present to celebrate. Lucas, my sister, and me, and that quiet class president who was summoned last minute. Midnight arrived, the night pitch black, candles flickering. 30 seconds of silence followed the end of the birthday song. As I made a wish and opened my eyes, I saw Lucas and my sister locking eyes, sharing a smile. His gaze softened immensely in the candlelight. I believed those memories had almost faded, but they remained vivid, clearer than yesterday, reminding me that I had always remembered. I had merely chosen not to confront it. Exhaling deeply, I touched the lock with trembling fingers. Please, Lucas, don't reduce our decade to a mere joke. Steadily, I entered the numbers, watching in despair as the door opened. I stared blankly at the open doorway, tears falling to the floor. I couldn't help but force a self-mocking smile as I walked into the study. The room was dark, no lights on. I flipped the switch, and suddenly the room was illuminated. Bright lights banished all darkness, revealing everything before me. There were no books in the study, only rows of oil paintings. I picked one up. It clearly read Hannah, my sister. Everything in the room was about her. Even the walls were cherry blossom pink, gentle yet beautiful. I looked around in despair, feeling like a lost stray animal, unsure of where to go or what to do next. I was on the verge of hysteria, but Lucas was already gone. I began to break down, realizing that no matter what I did, it was futile. Whether I hated him or loved him didn't matter. The study faced the direction of the sunrise, and I finally understood why Lucas wasn't by my side each morning. At the far end of the room was a set of tables and chairs. I walked over slowly, each step painful and numb. A notebook lay on the desk, filled with writings from age 15 to the present, feelings for Hannah he couldn't express. Every word was imbued with warmth. I flipped through and stopped at the last page. It read, "If one day you leave me, I'll come to you at all costs. Life and death won't keep us apart." Thunder roared and rain poured down. It turned out he didn't commit suicide because of depression, but for love. I posted this online, keeping names confidential, hoping strangers might offer solutions. But they ignored my plea. Instead they commented, "Oh my God, such a beautiful love, tragically poetic. Wow, what a fall from grace for love. Honestly, you should have let them be back then, such a waste of a couple." I scrolled through, seeing praise for this love story, sighing over their fate, and questioning what about me. If he loved Hannah back then, why didn't he just leave me? If their love was so perfect, what did that make me? I turned off my phone, opened the window, and threw it out, watching it shatter into pieces. I finally understood my identity. I was nothing, just a fool. The funeral began, and I watched the black coffin slowly descend into the ground. Just before it was covered, I opened my bag, pulled out a letter, and lit a lighter, burning it in the air like a fiery butterfly. It was the only item in the study that belonged to me, a love letter from when I was 15. But it didn't convey my true feelings. Hannah had drawn a pig on it and wrote, "So silly, her love letters are so sappy, can't even use a saying right," which made me laugh. Lucas had smiled back at her, small and cute, a sight I had never seen before. The funeral concluded, guests departed, reporters swarmed, blocking the way, and flashlights kept shining on me. Other rumors about my sister and husband spread true online. Someone claimed it was my interference with my sister and Lucas's relationship that led to their separation and this tragedy. The crowd buzzed, and it made sense why I hadn't had children all this time. Such a perfect couple, truly a pity. The reporters, having gotten nothing from me, turned to Lucas's mother. I shook my head slightly, hoping she wouldn't reveal anything. At home, whatever was happening didn't matter, but in public, couldn't she offer that much? Lucas's mother sighed and said, "I wish the one marrying Lucas wasn't you." Years of struggling to sustain this marriage crumbled in an instant, and I became a true clown under the flash of cameras. My embarrassment magnified like a dirty rat fleeing the crowd to the car. In those 30 seconds, I regretted it all, desperately wishing to return to age 15, remaining a stranger to Lucas. I didn't want to grow alongside him. Suddenly, on a rainy night, a Bentley crashed into a car, the window shattering, sharp glass cutting into my skin. In my final moments, I seemed to see a white car, the window shattered, sharp glass slicing my skin. In those last moments, I perceived a white light drawing me in. "Emma, answer this question," a sharp voice pierced the silence. I moved my hand, numb, the muscle memory from school made me stand up, ready to respond. People around burst into laughter. "Haha, Emma, you're out of it. Quiet down, the teacher tapped the board, pointing at the problem. "You answer this. Can't do it? You'll stand before the whole class." I stared at the board full of formulas, not knowing how to respond. Someone in front chuckled. It was my sister. Beside her was Lucas. In a past life, the man who died for love, my husband. I saw her innocent smile, softly telling Lucas, "How can she be so dumb?" Lucas rested his head in his hand, eyes filled with affection for her. Then he smirked slightly and carelessly said, "Yeah." I couldn't breathe. At 26, I asked Lucas if he still loved Hannah. If he did, I would step back and let them be. Lucas lit a cigarette, then calmly said, "Let them be." What? What for? Hannah's married. Emma, if I really loved her, I'd have crashed her wedding. I laughed sweetly back then, like a child finally getting candy. Only now did I understand it was all pretend. Married to me, but for Hannah, he didn't love me. The teacher noticed I couldn't answer and pointed to my sister sitting in front. "Hannah, can you answer for your sister?" Hannah stood up gracefully and confidently. "You can use Newton's second law for this. The answer is 16n. The teacher adjusted her glasses and said approvingly, "Good job, very good." Then she looked at me and sighed. "How are you and your sister worlds apart?" "Sit down, Emma, go stand at the back." I hung my head and picked up my book, walking to the back of the classroom. Along the way, I heard whispers and laughter. They are sisters, but the difference is huge. I'm tempted to suggest Hannah's parents get a DNA test. Can't answer something so simple, shouldn't be in an advanced class, dragging us down. I walked quickly, feeling embarrassed and awkward. After class, the teacher called me to the office. She pointed to the recent mock exam scores and frowned. "Emma, you got to shape up, look at your sister as a model." Then she pulled out a ranking list. Hannah and Lucas were right next to each other, second and third. I was at the bottom. I just nodded, avoiding eye contact. "All right, I'll get someone to tutor you." Her finger moved over the rankings while I stared blankly back. Then, my tutor was an impatient guy. I guessed it would be the same now. While I daydreamed, her finger stopped at the top spot. "Let's go with this one, Owen, the one sitting behind you," she said. I looked up in disbelief. Owen. The summer breeze blew into the office, very noticeable. Owen, I thought absent-mindedly. He was Hannah's old crush, wasn't he? Owen was our class president, a true golden boy back in the day. Hannah tried to get our parents to arrange a match, but the Alden family was wealthy and powerful, they turned us down flat. Later, Hannah gave up and married a company heir. After attending my wedding with Lucas, Owen went abroad for school and vanished. I returned to the classroom. After sitting down, I stared at the workbook on my desk. It was full of formulas I no longer recognized. Memories of the past washed over me. I had given up school to chase Lucas. Even when I got into an advanced school through connections, I couldn't escape a mediocre fate. My parents were so disappointed, they stopped caring after I turned 18. Folks would ask why they didn't send me abroad or at least to a good college. My parents would just laugh and say, "Raising a child is an investment, and Emma's not worth it. She's nothing like Hannah. When she's grown up, whatever happens isn't our concern anymore." I looked out the window and sighed. This time, I don't want regrets. I want a better future, one that's free. Recently, Owen had been on leave. None of the other students wanted to tutor me. They'd say explaining it would be a waste, you won't get it anyway. So I huddled over my desk, memorizing physics formulas. A student passed by and sneered. Now you want to catch up with exams around the corner, where have you been? Her friend nudged her arm, glanced at Hannah and Lucas studying together in front, then back at me. Probably off chasing someone who doesn't even care, what a joke. I tried to focus back on my formulas but felt eyes on me. Looking up, I accidentally caught Lucas's gaze. At 16, he was all youthful in his blue and white school uniform, but his eyes were full of disdain, as if I were some disgusting bug. Just let her be, Hannah softly said. Everyone has a right to try hard. The girls teasing me shifted to smiling warmly at Hannah. Hannah, you're too kind, that'll get you in trouble someday. I lowered my head, not because of harsh words, but because everything blurred. Memories of being 16 rushed back. Lucas tutored me during a hot summer, patiently explaining complex problems over and over. The sun illuminated his hair. 16-year-old Lucas seemed to glow, but now that light felt extinguished. 3 months left until exams, I struggled to catch up on work. Complex physics formulas, tricky math problems, endless chemistry reactions, essays, ancient poetry, and texts. It all seemed like a daunting obstacle to success, no way around it. Then Owen returned. He looked down at me first, then picked up my paper covered in red marks. He showed no annoyance. There's an easier way, he tapped the paper, grabbed a red pen from my desk, and in a few swift movements, solved it 3 different ways. Just plug in the formula here, no fuss. He glanced up. Understand? I blinked at him. Owen wore glasses, a sapphire earring sparkled in the sunlight on his left ear, his eyelashes fluttered like butterfly wings. I still don't get it, I said, a bit embarrassed. Owen lowered his eyes and said, then I'll explain again. Hannah turned around from the front, smiling. Owen, there's a problem I can't solve either, can you help me? Owen pushed his glasses up, saying slowly, sorry, I'm busy. Hannah smiled with an innocent and sweet grin. I'll wait till you're free then. When will that be? Owen replied casually. When I reincarnated as a pig in the next life. I cracked my first smile since my rebirth. Word spread quickly about Owen helping me with my studies. At first, everyone was shocked that someone like Owen would bother with me. Then jealousy emerged. How crafty is Emma, she pretends to be pitiful, and now the teachers arranged Owen to tutor her, right? If it were someone else, I wouldn't say much, but Emma, with her IQ, it's pointless. Owen will probably get tired of her soon, she's such a dimwit. I heard these remarks repeatedly but never lifted my head from my sea of books, not once. I sat at my desk, gnawing on my pen, stuck on a problem. Owen was off for another physics competition. Nobody else was willing to help me with my questions. Just as I was about to open a study guide, someone tapped on my desk. I looked up and saw a cold, emotionless gaze. It was Lucas. Emma, the teacher wants me to switch with. Switch, what? I asked, confused. Lucas replied, tutoring, I mean it's not like you'll benefit much anyway, right? Better let Hannah have it, they can help each other and snag more spots for direct admission. I was stunned. If having a crush feels like 1,000 butterflies fluttering in your chest, drumming up a storm in Texas, then disappointment feels like a fiery blaze engulfing your entire body. After it burns, even your heart turns to ash, with no hope of revival. I looked at Lucas for the first time directly, my eyes felt hot, and my throat tightened. Lucas, it's not just Hannah who wants to get into a good school, I do too. I ran out of the classroom, leaving Lucas standing there, stunned. What's up with Emma? She ran out so fast. Think she's crying? A girl asked. Another girl rolled her eyes. So what if she is? Should we give her an award? What kind? An Oscar? They laughed together. Lucas hung his head low and shouted, enough. The classroom fell silent. I ran to the restroom and in the cramped space, I wiped my tears with my sleeve. Afterwards, I pulled out a math problem. The mock exam was just 3 days away, I had to win. The exam finally ended, and Owen's competition results were out too. He secured first place, guaranteeing direct admission to the top provincial school. I congratulated him. Congrats, no more exams for you. He looked at me calmly and said, "Do you want to get into the top provincial school?" Embarrassed, I replied, "Of course I do, but it's probably not going to happen." "Why not?" "I don't believe in myself," I said slowly. "I'm confused about my future." With summer approaching, the sun outside was blazing. I watched the tree shadows dance by the window, boys playing basketball below, cheers echoed around the campus. "Instead of believing in yourself, you might as well believe fate," Owen said suddenly. "I can read palms, want to see?" I turned back and smiled at him. I handed him my hand. Owen held it gently, examining it closely. His hand was large and warm as he studied it for a while. I couldn't resist asking, "Master, what do you see?" Owen finally lifted his head, smiling mischievously. He pointed to some lines on my palm. "It says you'll not only get into the top provincial school but also into a university. Your wishes will be fulfilled, leading to a perfect life." I was about to dismiss his words as nonsense but saw the sincerity in his eyes. It didn't feel like just my fate, it felt like his promise. The second mock exam results were released. I still ranked at the bottom. Standing in front of the leaderboard, I felt like I was trapped in an icy cave, chilled to the bone. Why does hard work go unrewarded? I clenched my fists, struggling to breathe. A classmate couldn't help but thought, "You were some genius, huh? Go sleep, princess. If you can't hack it, skip high school. With these scores, you'll be better off finding a husband early." I stared at my shoes, tears dropping. They hit the tiled floor and vanished without a trace. "Don't talk about my sister like that," Hannah tugged on the classmate. "She tries hard and stays up late every night." The classmate glanced at the leaderboard and laughed. "Hannah, you're so down to earth, congrats on moving up, you might get direct admission with Owen." Hannah smiled sweetly. "Thank you." Before leaving, the classmate added, "Honestly, you and Owen make such a good couple, like characters in a school romance story." Hannah didn't argue, smiling even more bashfully. The classmates egged them on. I slowly walked out of the classroom, feeling like a dirty rat escaping the crowd's notice. In a panic, I hid in the restroom again, this time with a math problem. Tears streamed continuously, smudging my notes, the letters blurred into a mess. I finally broke down, curling up and crying. Afterward, I washed my face and returned to class, only to bump into Owen in the corner. He was out of breath, flushed, his glasses off, and hair messy. He said, "Emma, congratulations." I blinked. "What for?" The system had glitched and missed 3 of my exam scores. He tilted his head, smiling at me. "So congrats, you're 10th. My eyes widened in surprise. It turned out Owen had disappeared right after class because he wanted to argue with the teacher. He believed in me, knowing my hard work wasn't just for show. Even the slightest progress mattered to him. However, the teacher wouldn't believe it until he reached out to the Alden family, revealing the truth. I cried my heart out. "Thank you," I said seriously. "Thank you." I worked even harder, striving for good grades and a promising future. Despite my parents mocking me for only being in the top 10 of my class and not getting close to a prestigious school, I continued studying late into the night. Finally, I aced the major exams and gained admission to the prestigious school. The family toasted and celebrated, but it wasn't for me, it was for Hannah. Mom and Dad even threw a graduation party just for her. It turned out that it wasn't because I was useless that I was abandoned, they simply didn't love me. I watched Hannah supported by Mom and Dad, surrounded by flowers and applause. Even Lucas spent months trying to get her a bouquet of 99 white roses from Australia. He handed them to her with such tenderness that everyone teased them. Hannah shyly accepted them. I looked down, unable to suppress a sarcastic laugh. In a past life, I had married Lucas, and we agonized over which flowers to choose for the bouquet. When he found out, all he said was, "White roses, I guess." I asked him why he wouldn't answer. I stubbornly believed it was because he wanted to convey the meaning behind white roses, of pure and flawless love. Now I understood it was indeed for the meaning, but the person he wanted to tell wasn't me. I stood in the corner quietly, raising a glass. Cheers to you all, cheers to youth, cheers to my foolish past life. I drank the strong liquor, deciding to let go completely. Suddenly, Lucas turned to look at me. We stared at each other for a long time. His gaze wasn't cold as before, but filled with panic, as if he had lost something precious. "Lucas, what are you looking at?" Hannah asked sweetly. Lucas turned back, his heart pounding. He smiled sheepishly. "Nothing, maybe I lost something because I rushed here. Is it important?" He was silent for a long time, growing more anxious. Probably he seemed to think something very important. Years later, Lucas remembered that afternoon of toasting and celebration. Hannah in a little white dress stood on stage, dazzling with slightly flushed cheeks, thanking him for the white roses. But for some reason, he turned his head. He looked toward the corner of the stage. Emma stood there, looking at him calmly. They locked eyes. Because of Hannah, he looked away. When he glanced back, she was no longer there. This was the regret he cherished most in his life. Love is warmth, being loved is light. In my last life, I spent a lifetime chasing love, but in this life, I'm tired. I just want freedom, to be my own light. In the vast darkness, I don't need to light up thousands, just one light is enough. In high school, I worked even harder. Each sprint, each rebuild made my grades more impressive. By the second semester of sophomore year, I had made it into the top 5 for the first time. The teacher praised me in front of everyone. Everyone should learn from Emma. The room was silent. I nervously sat there, feeling lost, fearing they would laugh at me like in middle school. But after the silence, applause roared in along with cheers. "That's insane," jumping up from the bottom of the class, so amazing, it made me reconsider slacking off. The applause didn't stop. I widened my eyes in surprise as the teacher smiled at me from the podium. "We've all seen your effort," she said. "Emma, you're truly amazing." My eyes watered. After class, a classmate came to ask for help, just like I did before. Nervous, afraid of rejection, and pretending to understand to save face. I patiently explained over and over, just as Owen once did for me. "I understand the world is dark, deep, and unpredictable. But I still choose to hold up a light, do my best to brighten my corner. I believe this light will spread until the night is lit. Daybreak brightens the sky, everything comes alive. The sun shines fiercely." In senior year, Lucas suddenly reached out to me. He looked terrible, with dark circles under his eyes. I calmly watched him. "Is there something you need?" I asked. He suddenly grabbed my wrist. "Emma," his voice trembled. You liked me, right?" I frowned and stepped back, forcefully shaking off his hand. "Don't call me that," I said, "it makes me feel sick." His hand froze, then slowly fell. I turned to leave. Lucas, with red eyes, pleaded, "Can you give me another chance?" I stopped and turned to look at him. In the dim alley, Lucas called my name. "Helly, in the dark, please give me another chance, love me once more." Like a trapped beast, I knew he had been reborn too. I didn't ask him why he chose to die with me in the last life. Why, if he didn't love me, why did he marry me? Why did he abandon me? So many questions swirled in my mind. Loving him for those 10 years was shrouded in too much fog, until there was nothing left but sighs. In the end, I didn't ask anything. I just looked at him, feeling at peace, and said, "Lucas, I will never love you again, never." Lucas's gaze shattered, those once beautiful eyes lost their spark, no longer youthful. Thunder roared and it began to rain. I took out an umbrella from my bag, opened it, and walked out of the alley without looking back. The cold rain tapped against the umbrella, drip, drop, drip, drop. It poured heavily. I suddenly remembered the day I packed up Lucas's belongings from our past life. It rained just like this. It was a pitch-black rainy night with no end in sight, and my nose and lungs always felt damp. But in this life, I took a deep breath. And laughed. No more rainy nights like that for me. Goodbye, Lucas. You used to be my sunshine, but now I'm going to be my own light. I thought that was the last time I'd see Lucas. But the next morning, I found breakfast tucked inside my desk, along with a few pieces of imported chocolate. My classmates laughed and said, "Emma, you lucky dog, got noticed by the school heartthrob." I frowned and flipped the breakfast straight into the trash. "Seriously?" my classmate gasped. "That's such a waste, Emma. If you're not going to eat it, share it with us." I looked at the breakfast in the trash and asked, "Want me to fetch it back?" He grimaced. "Nah, forget it. That's like grinning like a dog." I chuckled. Word about me ditching Lucas's breakfast spread quickly across the campus. These kinds of gossip really spiced up the otherwise boring and stressful high school life. But unlike when Owen helped me with problems, this time, no one scolded me. It passed like a joke. During this time, Hannah came to see me, readied and pitiful. She questioned, "Why did you throw away Lucas's breakfast? Do you know how much that hurts him?" Glancing through my physics notes, I replied nonchalantly, "Don't know, don't care." "You." Hannah slammed the desk, pointing a finger in my face. But my classmate cut her off. "Hannah, the breakfast was a gift from Lucas to Emma. Emma can do whatever she wants with it. Why are you so worked up when the person involved isn't?" Hannah was speechless and furious. She glared at me, then gave a cold laugh and said, "You'll never beat me." My classmate who came for help pushed his glasses up and said, "You'll never beat me." He glanced at his watch and added, "Hey, are you done with your questions? If so, head back to your class and stop hogging the space." The classroom roared with laughter. Hannah stormed off in anger. Lucas continued leaving breakfast for me enthusiastically until the second month. Then Owen returned. He shot a complicated glance at the breakfast on my desk, and after that, no more breakfasts appeared. 2 weeks after the breakfast disappeared, Lucas cornered me. "What's your relationship with Owen?" he asked. I shot him a glance. "You don't have the right to ask," I said. Lucas's face showed pain, and as I turned to leave, he grabbed my sleeve. "Don't treat me like this," he said, his voice shaky and fragile like a stray dog. But I felt no pity. I pried his hand off. "Lucas," I said, "we're like strangers now, and you've crossed a line." He looked up, disbelief evident on his face. "You said you'd love me forever. You said you'd do in another life," he stammered, breaking down. I spoke coldly. "So what, Lucas? You also said you do. We made vows before God, prayed for blessings at a marriage temple, and you promised you'd only love me." I smirked, sarcasm and helplessness lining my voice. "But you still chose to die with Hannah, didn't you?" Lucas was stunned. I started heading for the exit. "Let's not meet again." But at the exit, I spotted Owen. He was chilling in a Maybach, casually resting an arm out the window, a cigarette between his slender, veiny fingers. I was taken aback, slowing my pace. "Get in," Owen said. Snapping back to reality, I opened the car door and climbed in. Lucas chased closely and pounded on the now-closed car window, demanding, "What is your relationship?" Owen rolled down the window just a crack, eyes cold. "None of your business." Seeing Lucas outside still desperately trying to argue, I made a decision. Leaning close to Owen, I kissed him right in front of Lucas. The clouds parted, sunlight spilling over everything. Lucas kept banging on the car window, trying to stop us. Owen, however, held my chin and deepened the kiss. The car held the lingering scent of cigarettes, but it wasn't unpleasant. It was like a cooling floral fragrance. I didn't push him away. After that, I never saw Lucas again until about 2 months before our big exams. Hannah confessed to Owen after his rejection. Through tears, she asked, "Why me, but not you?" I watched her cry coldly, each tear splattering silently to the ground. My heart remained unmoved. Owen answered casually, "It's not just roses that are special. Lemons are too." Hearing this made me smile faintly. After being rejected, Hannah turned her attention to Lucas instead, chasing after him. This rumor swirled all around school, finally ending with Lucas's rejection. I heard this while calculating a physics problem, my pen never pausing. Just like before, a month before the exams, my parents hurriedly called. "Hannah has developed a split personality. She's acting crazy, asking everyone why. Why don't you love me anymore?" Was all your kindness towards me in the past fake? Mom sobbed helplessly on the phone. She's your sister. Just give to her. Her crying was painful to hear, but I felt numb. Give how? What should I give? I asked. As the summer heat settled in, the sunset outside the dorm lit up brilliantly. I looked down, speaking softly. Looking at love as the only thing in life only traps you in your own cocoon, hanging on to it. Hanging up the phone, I returned to studying. A gentle breeze came through, blowing the pages of the books on my desk. I finished writing the last word, put my pen down, and looked up. Suddenly, I thought about how in a past life, I was so determined to chase after love because I had never been loved. I craved it desperately to the point where I lost myself. When I found out Lucas had a crush on Hannah for 10 years, I was shattered too. I felt oddly sorry for Hannah. We fell into the world's thorny traps, convinced ourselves that our obsessions were love. We were just cowards, carried away by the need to be loved. June 8th, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I put down my pen, took a deep breath, and the bell rang. The college entrance exams were over. 10 minutes later, students dashed out of the school gates. That day, the sun shone perfectly, and the breeze was gentle. We ran into the sunlight, escaping victoriously. At the gates, Owen stood holding a bouquet. The sunlight poured over him, making him shine like the end of a dream. I laughed and said, being a recommended student sure is easy. Then I took the bouquet. They were hydrangeas. May you go towards a bright future, he said. I looked up at him seriously. I definitely will. Surprisingly, Lucas didn't take the exams. He stayed home, took sleeping pills, released the gas, and tried to end his life. But he didn't succeed. When I heard about it for the first time, I went to see him in the hospital. He lay on the bed, pale, thin, and fragile. Seeing me, he gave a sheepish smile. I asked him coldly, why did you try to kill yourself? Lucas looked down. I wanted to tell you don't give up on me. I could die for you. Ignoring the nurse, I rushed forward and slapped him several times. Lucas's dull eyes began to fill with mist. Is life so cheap to you? I grabbed his collar and shouted. What's the point of dying for someone? Living for someone is what's noble. A breeze lifted the blue curtains in the room. Lucas stared blankly at me. I won't see you again, I said before leaving. Goodbye forever. The hospital room door slowly closed. That was the last time we met. The exam results came out. Owen was more nervous than I was. After logging into the results page, he clasped his hands together in a prayer in front of the computer. I laughed. Since when did you become so superstitious? Owen said, I've always been superstitious. Kind of true, I remembered. In middle school, he even tried reading my palm. It's time, Owen said, holding my hand like we were performing some ritual. I asked, what are you doing? He smiled with crescent eyes. Passing my good luck to you. What if I want all your luck? I'd give it to you, of course. I smiled too. My heart felt like soft cotton. In the end, we clicked the check button together. Owen looked at the scores and said, Emma, you're really amazing. My eyes began to tear up. I said, of course, I'm amazing. And then Owen. Let's go to England together. Owen gave a little smile. Years later, I made many friends, closer than family, and even got adopted as a granddaughter by an old lady. I started sponsoring underprivileged girls for their education, giving them a new life. Time was bright, and life was small yet grand.